Chancy and the Grand Rascal by Sid Fleischman. 11. The Chair-Bottomer. Paducah! Chancy tried to look everywhere at once. He had dreamed of this moment, and now Paducah stretched before his eyes like a fabled place. Buildings shouldered one another up and down the long streets. Tall brick chimneys rose like spires from the sawmills and tanneries and poured smoke into the summer sky. Low wooded hills reached back to the horizon. Chancy tried not to let his excitement show. Along the riverfront, a sloping wharf stood at the foot of town. Like a broad front porch, horses and mules, drays and wagons clattered across the planks. Shouts filled the air as roustabouts struggled with great barrels of tobacco and bales of corn. The engine room bells jingled festively in Chancy's ears. Whistle blaring, the steamboat bullied its way through the tugs and wharf boats up to the landing. A small crowd was waiting for the gangplank to be run out, and Chancy half expected to catch sight of his sister Indiana. She wouldn't be there, he knew that, but he couldn't help peering at the faces. He looked for 2 flying pigtails. That was the way he remembered her. He'd know her right off, he was sure of it. Uncle Will turned in with a broad smile. Shall we step ashore and hunt up that chair-bottomer? We likely could find Indiana before supper, Chancy said. Might. Chancy lifted Calamity to his shoulder, and they strode across the gangplank. As they picked their way through the crowd, past the Southern Hotel and along the dusty streets, Chancy seemed to see pigtails flying everywhere. They walked along the street until they came to a furniture store. Howdy, sir, said Uncle Will to the proprietor. Can you tell us where we might find a chair-bottomer named Jones? The proprietor was a heavy gentleman with a palm leaf fan in his hand. Jones, sir, he said, cooling his face with his fan. You mean Macarger Jones, that low-down crawfish who makes hickory chairs over on the Tennessee? Most likely, said Uncle Will. A gander-necked man with a nose like a stick? A gander-necked man with a nose like a stick. That's him, said Chancy. Why, yes, yesterday. Why, yes, indeedy. I can direct you to him, stranger. There's not a soul in Paducah who don't know that cussed old skinflint. If he ain't the meanest man in town, I'll be surprised it wouldn't be fair to warn you, sir. Will rubbed his jaw thoughtfully. Mean as that, is he? Mean as his hide will hold, said the furniture man, briskly fanning his face. Why, sir, that man feeds his dogs better than his wife and young'uns, and his dogs is half starved. That's mean, Uncle Will admitted, exchanging a glance with Chancy. Miserly, too. Why, sir, old Macarger won't hardly sit down for fear he'll wear out the seat of his breeches. That's miserly, said Uncle Will. And them's just his best points, the proprietor added. If you got $1 in your pocket, hold on to it with both hands. If he gets the scent of money, he'll trick you out of it, sir. He could bamboozle a skunk out of the stripe on its back. I declare, if anyone ever got the best of him, old Macarger would bite himself. Soon, Chancy and Uncle Will were on their way again, their heads full of directions. When they reached the Tennessee River at the edge of town, they were to follow the bank for a mile. They'd find a 2-story frame house on stump ground and know it for sure by a tall persimmon tree on the west side of the house. Along the riverbank, Chancy spied a broken strong box moldering in the leaves. He was for making use of it. We could bury our woodyard money, Uncle Will. It's safe enough in my coat pocket. Mr. Jones won't sniggle us out of it. Why, he'll find it easier to eat a wasp's nest, with the wasp still in it. It was mid-afternoon when they saw the tall persimmon tree and the house slouching in its shadows. Chancy didn't like the look of the place. With old tree stumps standing all about, the house seemed set among tombstones. There was no one stirring except for 3 gaunt dogs who began to bark. Sight unseen, Macarger Jones filled Chancy with dread. But behind the sagging front door, Chancy expected to find his sister Indiana, and the thought made his scalp prickle. The dogs came bounding toward them. They were so thin that Chancy fancied he could hear their bones rattling as they ran. They barked and growled and paused to scratch fleas. In no time at all, Uncle Will was making friends with them. Then a man stepped out of a sway-backed shed in the rear with a shotgun across his arms. You there! Stop annoying my hounds! Chancy recognized the man at once, the sharp-nosed, long-necked man who had taken Indiana away 4 years before. What "We're not annoying your dogs," said Uncle Will. "They look almighty hungry." "Clear off, stranger, unless you want to dodge buckshot." "We came looking for Mr. Micajah Jones, the chair bottomer." The man shut one eye. "What you want of him?" Uncle Will walked forward, with Chancy and the dogs following close behind. "It wouldn't surprise me if you're the man we're looking for." "Maybe I am and maybe I ain't." "We came a long way to find you, sir," said Uncle Will. Chancy was quite content to let him do the talking. "Any objection if we sit down and talk?" "You can stand up and talk," said the chair bottomer, holding on to the shotgun. He regarded the two strangers with guarded, deep-set eyes. His face was narrow and bony and almost as red as brick. He wore a large black hat with no shape to it at all, and his wrists hung out below his sleeves. If he recognized Chancy, he gave no sign of it. "You won't be needing that gun," said Uncle Will. "Might and might not. Reckon you didn't come a long way to buy a hickory chair." "That's true," said Uncle Will. "I can see you're a man who gets directly to the point." "Well, sir, the point is, you were traveling through Erie County, Ohio, some years ago, and were kindly enough to take in an orphan girl." "Maybe I did and maybe I didn't." Uncle Will shoved back his hat. "I'm talking about Indiana Dundee, sir, and no maybes about it." Micajah Jones lowered his wispy eyebrows. "Keep a-talking. Allow me to introduce my young companion. This is Chauncey Dundee, Indiana's older brother." The chairmaker's mouth gave a twitch of surprise. Then he cleared his throat and rubbed his chin. "Bless me, all the way from Erie County. Why, I almost didn't recognize you, boy." Chancy took a breath. "I wonder, could I see my sister now, sir?" "Come in out of the sun, the both of you. I'd invite you to supper, but we already had ours." They followed Micajah Jones into the shed, and Uncle Will slipped Chancy a shy smile. It was far short of supper time. The chair bottomer didn't intend to put himself out for them, and that suited Chancy fine. All he wanted was to get hold of Indiana and run. Inside the shed, new hickory chairs hung from the rafters, and wood chips were as thick as leaves on the floor. The air was heavy with the odor of hot glue. Toward the back, Chancy saw a chair half-bottomed with cane. Pegs were stuck in the rail holes, and the split cane coiled like loose wire on the floor. He lifted Calamity from his shoulder and let the chick forage among the wood chips. "Chauncey Dundee," said Micajah Jones, clucking his tongue. He gave a dry laugh, like sandpaper being rubbed together. "Well, I remember I almost chose to take you instead of that sister of yours." "I didn't know that," Chauncey murmured. "I'd have learned you to cane a good chair, but boys is always running away. Girls is easier to keep on a leash. On, except little Indiana. I made a mistake offering to take her along home with me. If I wasn't a kindly man, I'd have long ago sold her to gypsies." A flash of anger rose in Chancy's face. "Might I see her, sir?" he asked. "Fed and clothed that girl, and she acts like she was doing me a favor. Never saw such a high-headed child. I've had to whip her many a time, but there's not a tear in that young'un." Uncle Will was studying the man with a cold eye. "You have our sympathy," he said. "You come to visit, I expect?" the chair bottomer. "No, sir," answered Uncle Will. "We came to fetch her." Micajah Jones hardly blinked an eye. He began scratching his chin. "Well, now, that's too bad. It looks like you come a long way for nothing." "It don't look that way to me," said Uncle Will. "From what you said, sir, she's little use to you." "That's true. The girl ain't been worth her keep." "Then you'll be glad to shout for her, and we'll be on our way." Micajah Jones laughed again. "I can't holler that loud." His smile shifted to Chancy and back to Uncle Will. "You're a mite late. Little Indiana ain't here." Uncle Will's gaze sharpened. "Where is she, sir?" "I don't rightly know. Day before yesterday she picked up and run away." And that's the end of chapter 11.